Welcome to Beerfield. We're in mid-season form already. You'll notice there is no accompanying video for this. There'll still be audio on YouTube, but no accompanying video. Dan is in a hotel and having technical difficulties, but it wouldn't be us if there weren't some form of technical difficulty, right?
Generally, it doesn't matter if it's week 1, week 10, week 0, or day 1 of rookie quarterback evaluations. There's always something that's going to happen to us.
There is always something that's going to happen to us. So, it's week 1. Lions and Chiefs are playing right now. Quick update on that game, which we'll do kind of every week because we record on Thursday. Just Jared Goff off to a pretty hot start, eh? Equaling, pretty much matching Patrick Mahomes so far into the second quarter. Tied 7-7. The touchdowns belong to Rashee Rice on a 1-yard reception for the Chiefs. Amon-Ra St. Brown for the Lions, and that's about it, really. So
I was getting ready to dunk on the fake punt call, and then they turn it into a touchdown. It's like, well, I really can't dunk on it now.
Nope.
I mean, it's a ballsy call, but I even think ballsy is a little understated to just why, but it worked for them. That's all that matters. And I have a lot of St. Brown shares in fantasy because he's one of my favorite guys to go after. So I love it.
Awesome. I do too. You're watching running backs, at least carry counts right now. It's 5-3 in favor of Montgomery for the Lions. It's 3-2 in favor of Pacheco for the Chiefs. So we'll get more into what you should be watching for in week 1 later. So we're going to do a full week 1 preview to give you an idea of the format this year. We're not going game by game. We're kind of each Ryan. And by the way, Chris Hopper at Beerfield Hop with 2 P's on X, at Hop134 on Threads, also with 2 P's. Joined by Beerfield 30 at Ryan Miner _FFB. Did not think he could handle his excitement on the show, so he's not here. He didn't want to hang out with me today, I guess.
Even on your birthday.
Even on my birthday.
No, I'm good.
Nope, I'm good. That's all right. We'll give him shit right next week. Anyway, a little bit at Beerfield is the show. Follow that on Twitter. Beerfield Podcast everywhere else. We're not going game by game. We're going to do more of a here's one thing we're paying attention to. Here's one streamer we each kind of like this week. Just kind of keep it topical. If we notice a matchup we like, we notice a game we like a lot of players from. What we realized last year going by game is you're just picking on the same teams week after week, right? It's like every time somebody played the Falcons, you're like, yeah, start everyone. So kind of boring for us. So
yes,
we're going to try to keep it a little bit more brief. We will go through news and injuries like normal. One note on the way that we do injuries here. We are not talking about everybody that's limited or missing practice or limited in practice or potentially banged up. That happens all the time. We will talk about people that are trending towards missing based on patterns that we've seen over the past few years. We can pretty well predict that. We're not going to talk about anybody that's a true game time decision because it doesn't matter what we think about that right now. We're going to talk about guys that are either trending towards missing or that we're missing or are trending towards playing, and then headlines. That's pretty much it. Anything that's significant. But any of the ticky-tack, like, so-and-so was limited in practice, like, okay, great. A lot of people are going to be limited throughout the week if they are practicing most of the time they're playing. So, just heads up there as we get into this. Those are the changes for this season. Also, as a reminder, this is our last regular season run of episodes. So, the plan is to wrap up at episode 500, which will be the week before week 1 of next year. So, just heads up there as well. There's going to be a lot of laughs as we go through here. So if we get a little teary-eyed, a little emotional, a little excited, that's why.
Hell yeah.
Anything else to add?
No, that's you pretty much covered it all.
Sweet. In that case, without Ryan, what are we drinking?
What's fueling Beerfield?
What you got, Dan?
So because I'm in Missouri, I had to at least get local state. I'm in Columbia again. I got some Earthbound. They're out of St. Louis. Unfamiliar with them, which is kind of odd given I drink a lot of St. Louis bound breweries, but
Yeah.
they're off of Cherokee Street.
They're kind of
631118. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, this is their blonde ale with cardamom, black pepper, and tea. So 'tis the season for some of the lighter, peppier beers. And my favorite local brewery back home finally put on the Earl Grey tea sour. So I felt I was in the mood to try something that's similar to an extent. With the tea in there and the black pepper. But this is a very interesting beer so far with this flavor profile and everything else.
All right. I'm drinking wine, actually. That
Well,
wasn't
happy birthday to you.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily intentional that I was gonna do this, but yeah, what ended up happening is that we had like a seafood pasta dish and I didn't have a white wine. And I got a float trip this weekend, so I had a beer I was thinking about getting into, but I'm like, nah, I want something to pair with my cake. And I wanted something a little bit more special than an ice box, even though ice box are pretty special. You don't ever see those. So I popped open a bottle of Cooper and Thief, which I've had on the show before, I think, way back when. It might have been the first wine we ever had on the show. But Cooper and Thief is a red wine blend. They don't give any information on what the blend of red wines is. It's finished in bourbon cask for 3 months, which is what initially drove me to it. Wine is my weakest of the categories of things that I drink because I don't drink clear for the most part. I guess tequila would technically be my weakest. But anyway, yeah, more on that later. But totally wasn't planning on wine until I opened a bottle of wine. I'm like, well, yeah, we got to finish this now because I'm leaving tomorrow and it'll be bad by the time I get back.
I guess so. Sorry, guys. I'm going to have to just drink wine.
Right.
It's a rough life we live.
Gonna have to drink a whole bottle of wine. Damn it.
Damn it.
All right. With that, news time.
News.
All right. Getting into the news, breaking as we were about to come on the air. I did the notes. I went up and put my kid to bed, and then this broke right by the time I got back downstairs. Joe Burrow, 5 years, $275 million extension, $219 million guaranteed, making him now the highest paid quarterback in the league, which they're all kind of in the same neighborhood, right? I mean,
Yeah, they're all him, Jackson, Herbert, Hurts. They're all relatively the same.
And we expected Burrow to outdo Herbert, but to wait until Herbert got done so they knew exactly how much he was going to outdo him by. This just falls, I think, right in line with where we expected Burrow to land, honestly.
I'm a little surprised it was only for a 5-year extension. I thought maybe he'd get the 6 or even, touch at Mahomes. I mean, I won't say he touched 10 million, or not 10 years. But I figured it'd be
more
bigger than 5, or not bigger, but more than 5 years. Can we also talk about this literally announced as kickoff started? Cincinnati was like, hey, I know the Chiefs are playing.
But, yeah.
But.
It's pretty hilarious. I didn't even realize they did that level of flex.
That was my first thought I'm like, I know you guys are celebrating your Super Bowl win, but
we just extended Burrow. See you in the playoffs.
That's right.
Yeah, I think the year thing might have had more to do with what Herbert and Jackson signed for. I think they're going with these big money, shorter term deals, which is weird. But I mean, that's where we've seen everybody but Mahomes land. So
yeah, Josh Allen was
7 or 6,
6 or 7. I think it was 7. Burrow's knee is also acted up every single year since he's been in the league. And it's typically, at least, hasn't. I don't think it's caused him to miss
Not a lot of
games
time,
every
but
year, but there might be. I'm not saying that's the case. That's the only thought I have. I figured Cincy would try to lock him into a deal like Mahomes and Allen, so where it can become a little more team friendly as the years go on. But I
Allen
guess good on
was
Burrow's team for
A-
only getting 5 years.
Allen was 6 years, 258 million
Okay,
is where he was at. So yeah, I mean this is pretty much what we're seeing. So
yeah, yep.
That's the going rate for quarterbacks. And now with that, every big name that was set to be a free agent after the season is locked up. So there you go.
And with the 21 class outside of Lawrence, I guess, and maybe Fields,
Mm-hmm.
it might be kind of a quiet QB run here for the next couple of years.
Yeah, very well could be. So, well, yeah, because you got Lawrence and Fields, and if Fields doesn't develop, then, the Bears aren't going to lock him up near this money. Lawrence will probably get this. Burrow is a question, or not Burrow, Fields is a question mark. And you don't really have anybody else for a bit.
Not until, the 23 class, I guess we'll see after this year. But yeah, it's Lawrence. If he takes a step back, you might see some question marks. Maybe he won't get it in his 4th year, but it'll be interesting to watch. That's for sure.
I mean, with some of the busts that have happened, I won't name names.
Only a few.
Only a couple.
But only a couple.
Anyway, Cooper Kupp is going to miss week 1 with a hamstring injury. Josh Dobbs those two things aren't related. Cooper Kupp going to miss week 1 with a hamstring injury and probably longer. You're seeing a specialist in Minnesota. This is like the worst kept secret that this is a multi-week re-aggravation with him seeing specialists and everything, I think.
I am Alshon Jeffrey. The year, I think it was 2014.
Where he ended up missing like 15 games.
Yeah, he was always questionable. Maybe he comes back this week, maybe next week, and I think he played a total of 4 games, and he was effectively a decoy in all of them. Like, this scares me. Kupp's almost, I think he's
30
years old, or he turns 30 this year.
He's 30.
Yes, he has. Yeah, okay. He's got the he's got the ability to play long term because of what the Rams ask him to do, but
you gotta be healthy.
And the Rams have to want to sit you. So I'm a little nervous for
that's
this
the thing. The likes of Welker and Eric Decker and those guys that played a similar role until they were in their mid-30s had is that they were mostly healthy. Decker a little more injured than what Welker was, but I mean that's what they had other than Peyton Manning. But or Tom Brady. But if this is becoming a pattern now, right? You had the ACL and then you have the high ankle sprain, which is a freak thing. And now you're dealing with hamstring injuries, which that's more concerning. I honestly expect him to be they're not going to IR him, but for whatever reason, I feel like this is one of those things that's going to drag out until, probably around mid-season. Just a feeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And because this happened so late, a lot of people were still paying a somewhat premium on him in their drafts. And this was the risk you had if you drafted late with them. It's just a game you play.
Also, why you don't slow draft, redraft. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's always tough. People can say this is why you wait till the final, days before the season starts, but there's always benefits. There's benefits to drafting early and getting guys you love cheaper before they break out. Or if you draft super late, this is to avoid injuries that may or may not happen. So
there is. I don't have.
You're right.
I don't. Well, I don't have a strong benefit to when your draft is, but this is why you don't have a draft that drags out multiple weeks through training camp and everything. It's because there's a completely unfair balance when something like this happens if you're in your late rounds and somebody already paid up for him. So this is a good reason why, if you're a commissioner listening to this, you don't slow draft, redraft. You can do it early, you can do it late, but find a time to do it.
Speaking of, so our eliminator league was we moved platforms for 1 year because we had a hard time trying to schedule our auction draft for it. And normally it's an auction one time, 1 day thing. So we went to guillotine leagues and we did a slow draft. And I stared at Cup for a little bit, but I went with my heart and St. Brown. So
Yeah.
I think, it's only half a game into the first game of the season, but yeah, those are the risks we take at times.
It is. The other thing with this too is if you're looking for a replacement, you don't get a 1-for-1 replacement. Like, people want to run towards Puka Nacua, or Van Jefferson's been named the one, but the fact is we've seen this game enough, right? We've seen what happens here. The Rams are completely void of depth at the wide receiver position. Nakua's a rookie that was not highly touted or highly drafted. He's got size and some athleticism to him. Van Jefferson's high last year was 7 targets and 77 yards, essentially, in not the same game. But and that's with Cup missing time. Yes, also with Stafford missing time. So, I mean, those guys are going to fill in and be the popular picks, but they're not immediately going to elevate to wide receiver 1 or even wide receiver 2 status because Cup isn't there, right? They're going to, fall into 3-4 type range with floor. But, I mean, it's a disaster because of how the Rams draft, how they manage their draft capital. They've not added any depth since Robert Woods left, or that season when Woods was injured and Cup was hurt. There's just no depth. We've seen Ben Skoranek have and fail multiple times. We've seen Van Jefferson be, I guess, serviceable, but not really take over on that. They don't have anybody that can step into those shoes and make use of it.
It's almost like drafting, Tutu Atwell in the second round was a mistake. It's like drafting Van Jefferson in the third round. End up being a mistake. It's like there's people out there that highlight their overall profiles and say, why? Why are we drafting these people? But, we talk about Cup. It's also the same thing with Travis Kelce missing time. He's obviously missing this game.
A lot of people are in at Noah Gray, and it's the same thing.
It's the same. It's the exact same thing. Like, you're not replacing Travis Kelce with anybody, right? That's why Rashee Rice got the touchdown. That's why Sky Moore's been used more. That's why Kadarius Toney's been used more.
That's why there are 7 people with 1 reception right now.
and you can't we can't even say these guys have floor because we don't know what the offense is going to look like during the time these stars are out. And by the time you have an idea, the stars are back anyways. It doesn't fucking matter. So you got to be careful when you're just running out and trying to find 1-for-1 replacements. The Rams are also a very bad team to just try to go after it. They're not a volume offense. They're going to be another bad offense this year. Chiefs are a different story, but we know Mahomes can get it done with a plentiful amount of, average at best receivers. So
because he's doing what he does now. He's spreading the ball around, and he's fine. But that doesn't really. I mean, you literally have Justin Watson, MVS, Jerick McKinnon, Noah Gray, Isaiah Pacheco, Rashee Rice, and Kadarius Toney, all with 1 reception right now. And
yay football.
And you're within 2 minutes of the first half. So, yay football. But that's the mistake of why I was like, it's why running out for Noah Gray wasn't it. It's why running out for Van Jefferson isn't it.
No, in Dynasty, should you have these guys rostered? Yes.
Yeah.
Dynasty.
Yeah.
But we're in redraft season, so we're going to talk
redraft. Yeah.
In the landscape in the scope of redraft, we'll mention our Dynasty takes for these guys. Noah Gray should be rostered in Dynasty leagues just in case if the Travis injury lingers longer than the 1 to 3 weeks that he was slated to potentially miss.
It's a bone bruise, so thankfully it's not tissue related, at least.
Yep. Yeah. Thank fucking God.
And Kelsey, honestly, if he was that close to playing and it's a pain management thing, they got 10 days before their next game, he'll be back.
I'm assuming he'll be back next week, and maybe not at full capacity depending on who they play, but
he'll probably be limited.
Teams really want to win these early games. It makes management for the later, for the midseason a little bit easier.
Yep. All right, moving on. Joshua Dobbs has been named the Cardinal starter. They're going to reevaluate that situation week to week, so he'll start week 1 over Clayton Tune. Temper all of your expectations, basically.
No matter who it is.
Except for James Conner.
Yeah. I mean, even then.
Yeah.
I mean, Conner's bill of health isn't strong. So go out there and look at Keontae Ingram. That's the one guy that I will say he is the primary backup to James Conner. Conner, we love him. We obviously love his stories. He's part of year 1 for us, but he's on a model of health.
And for the record,
we both love Keontae Ingram.
So. For the record, that's a roster recommendation, not a this week recommendation.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah. But
I was talking
that is a go at him now.
Yeah.
Wait.
Yep. I was more so looking this week don't temper expectations.
Right,
They've got the Commanders. The Commanders have a decent defense, even though there's questions on offense. Josh Dobbs is a journeyman quarterback. Temper all your expectations. They're going
to load up the box. I would. Yeah, I mean, Connor may get there on volume, but that is definitely an offense. That's going to be a stream Washington defense, and stay away from all your Cardinals.
Yep. Colts are going to use a hot hand approach at running back, so Deion Jackson will technically get the first crack at that, but it'll be hot hand for the rest of it. That's just the situation we're watching. We'll get into this later, but you don't know anyone in week 1. We're not trying to get cute there.
Yep, I agree.
Breece Hall is going to be eased back into action. This is a Breece Hall and a Javonte Williams segment. So with the guys that are being eased back into action, if you have a better option and can afford to wait and see, that is my recommendation. So, I mean, you're fine with Dalvin Cook, but there's one situation where I started David Montgomery over Breece Hall, right? Just because you don't know what that's going to look like. We've seen that look like a guy might get 10 touches to ease him back into action, right? So, you draft those guys at a discount because they're coming off of injury. You should be in a situation where you have somebody above them to where you can kind of, sit them and say they might blow up, but I'm not going to let this be the reason I get beat. That's my recommendation on that. You've got guys like Swift, Sanders, Stevenson, Montgomery's playing right now, but Madison, guys like that, where there's going to be some insulated volume there. Just play it safe.
Yeah, there's, unlike in actual NFL, losing week 1's not the worst in fantasy. You're not going to lose your season by all means. Yes, you're not going to go undefeated, but who the fuck cares about that?
You don't need to go undefeated. You need to win.
You need
9 to
win
10
late,
games, basically. So,
I will say this about Breeze. I think it also depends on Dalvin Cook's health and his easement.
He's fully cleared at least now, and they're not saying they're going to ease him into anything. So that's what I'm basing it on.
Well, I mean, mine was based. Jesus Christ, jeez. Mine was mainly based on, Breece Hall and the easement.
Yeah.
Also, it's the AFC East, very, very, very competitive division this year. Breece is, and obviously the second most talented, probably positional player on that offense, right next to Garrett Wilson. So having him is important. Yes, easing him back to action is what you want, but I wouldn't be super scared to play him. That's all I'm saying.
Well, in a dream scenario is that you picked up Breece and then somebody like James Cook because they're playing each other on Monday night. You can look at your situation on Monday night and see what you need, right?
That is a fantastic call. Absolutely.
Because
yes, great call.
The Jets are going to do what they can to beat it's a division matchup. The Jets aren't going to give anything to the Bills, and if that means Breece Hall's their best chance at beating the Bills, they're going to go full bore with Breece Hall. But
Breece Hall's going to get 20 touches confirmed now because it's the Bills.
Right. So if you're in a situation where you need massive upside on Monday night, and you have Hall and Cook, which I'm sure there's some people out there that do, given where they were being drafted, You can YOLO that.
A touchdown Chiefs tight end.
Not Noah
It's
Gray.
not Noah Gray. It's the other one. It's Bell. Oh, see, this is
Blake
why I'm
Bell?
like,
Yeah.
Blake
This
Bell's
is why.
touchdown.
This is why.
Yeah,
And also,
Jesus
the
Christ.
funny part about that is that, oh no, Rashee Rice now has 3 receptions.
Yeah.
And Justin Watson
Rice
2,
is
Valdez Scantling 2. That was quite a drive, apparently.
It was a 3rd and 17, and he had a big 3rd down. Chiefs had a huge 3rd down conversion to, I think, 2.
Yeah. Rashee
Valdez
Rice is
Scantling.
going to be a dude. But this is one of the things we're watching, right? You're going to hear us talk about the Chiefs receivers. Why? Because we're trying to figure it out. And that's what you do in the first 3 weeks is you're trying to figure it out. And that's
I agree.
what we're doing here is we're going to try to figure out, okay, all right, who's going to be the guy? Because right now you've got an even shot between Rashee Rice and Sky Moore, I think. Or even, people were on Justin Ross. Nobody's really on Valdez Scantling.
Ross needs a lot of injuries to get started. I like Ross, but Ross stopped playing special teams. I was actually a bit surprised he even made
the roster. Yeah,
the team just because he wasn't gonna play on punt returns. He wasn't gonna play special teams, so he needs multiple injuries to find himself onto the team. Bryce is already, 3 catches in the first half. He gets the first touchdown for the Chiefs on the season. That's what they need. That's important.
Yep.
In a wide receiver room that is very, very unknown.
Yeah. Moving on. Christian Watson is missing practice with a hamstring issue. Romeo Doubs has been limited. Doubs will likely play. Watson is he doesn't get in a limited practice tomorrow. He's likely not playing. First off, people were drafting him up way ahead of where I would have taken him. My only Watson shares are in Dynasty. Like, people were drafting him like he was surefire going to get, somewhere around where the Bears are going to have DJ Moore or, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, like ahead of those guys. And that was confusing to me.
I understand size, athleticism,
upside,
but
why not draft him more where you're drafting Dotson and Pickens then, who are kind of the same thing?
I don't quite understand why are people going in on the Green Bay offense when literally everyone expects them. Even the fucking coaching staff
expects it to not be good.
Expects this to be, kind of up and down, a bit ugly. Rumors of them in on JT during the trade, during the trade talks, whatever smoke that may bring.
Yep.
This is going to be a run first. Jordan Love's it's not a very good quarterback. We weren't fans of his game. Watson, we were very tepid on. Yep. And now you have one of the slowest pace offenses in the league with Jordan Love, not Rodgers. So, I never got that hype either. I'm right there with you.
And you're not running out to start Jaden Reed. The other thing is that the Bears secondary is healthy and good.
And why would that game be a shootout in the first? Like, why are you targeting?
Be. Yeah,
it's not. It shouldn't at all. I would. It's a shootout if the game's close, and for some reason, both teams are in hurry up mode halfway through the fourth quarter. I expect
game
this
is
going to
be close and grind it out and run focused, or the Bears are going to put on a freaking show. Are the two ways that I see that going?
I'd be so happy.
Those are the 2 ways I see that going. I don't see a prayer. Anyway, your replacement for Christian Watson is not Jaden Reed, just based on what I've seen a lot of this morning. Like, don't go that way. Go somewhere else. We'll give you some juicy games here in a minute. Jerry Jeudy back at practice in a limited fashion, which is kind of surprising, but he may not miss week 1 after all, so keep an eye on that.
He's one I have. If you can pivot, which might be tough depending on, but if you can pivot, you should.
Well, he got hurt early enough to where his value was tanked to the 6th or the 7th, so a lot of people probably can pivot.
Yeah, generally, I think during the hype when he was a 5th round pick, anyways, which you're probably not, wide receiver, 2 at worst, and you're 3 and 4 now, so you have enough replacements to be fine.
And I still don't know that he plays, so there's that too. I mean, I think that he just misses week 1, even though he's practicing, and good luck in week 2.
Yep, absolutely.
They've got the Raiders. So, I mean, as long as
That's gonna.
gets this
I
team
think
to play
that's
up
gonna
to
be
a
a fun
little bit of
matchup.
its potential, it should be good.
Yeah, I think that could be a fun matchup. Hopefully, Jimmy G's ready to throw the ball significantly more than he did in San Francisco.
Well, I guess Adams, but yeah.
Adams, Myers,
Yeah,
you got Jacoby there. You still have Renfro. I'm not really helping my case, but
yeah. If you get two guys that go 5 for 50, that's like one receiver that goes 10 for 100. That's pretty good.
you have two slot receivers and they don't have a number 2 outside guy next to Adams. I don't know.
Yep.
Who's their tight end there? Oh yeah, they have
Michael Mayer and Austin Hooper.
Austin Hooper.
Yeah.
Gross.
They're going to be another interesting one to watch. It's like Diet Chiefs where you're watching to see who takes the lead there.
Dude, it's like 3-year-old RC Cola outside Chiefs.
RC Cola didn't deserve that.
That's true. I'm sorry. It's like, yeah, I don't know what's worse. Maybe the old Cub brand cola.
Like, well,
I don't know.
Crown
it's like
Cola
dog shit.
or whatever they have at Walmart.
Yeah. It's like dog shit sitting outside for
Dr. Thunder.
6 hours. There you go. Dr. Thunder. Mountain Yellow.
Yellow Lightning or whatever they call it.
Yellow Lightning. What a great name for it.
I don't know what.
I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea what they call their knockoff Mountain Dew. DJ Chark has not practiced this week. So we said we weren't going to talk about guys that are limited. If your whole wide receiver core is limited, we're going to talk about it. So DJ Chark has not practiced this week. Adam Thielen was limited, and he completely missed Thursday's practice with an ankle injury. Terrace Marshall is limited with a back injury. Carolina plays Atlanta in what could be a juicy matchup for them. But nobody's healthy other than Jonathan Mingo.
Mingo's a guy that I really, I'm interested in this, right?
I am too. I'm extremely interested. He's going to have an early shot.
And that's where
to build chemistry with Bryce Young as a young player.
Like, he's big, he's fast, maybe deep. Like, I don't expect him to get A+ targets, but open up the game a little bit. Don't let Atlanta kind of have their offense on the field the entire fucking time. Like, I kind of like Bingo this week.
I do too. And I don't know why you would be in a situation to need to YOLO start him as late as it is. Maybe you add Christian Watson and it's a good matchup. You lost Cooper Kupp and Christian Watson, maybe Jerry Jeudy. So, yeah, if you got him in the back pocket, that's a good matchup. I would throw him. Good matchup and guys are hurt. I'm intrigued. It's hard to make that call in week one, not knowing, but I'm definitely intrigued.
Yeah.
He's somebody that intrigued me ever since they put draft capital in him because I knew the size, I knew the speed, and I watched the film. Like, he absolutely can be a guy.
He can be a thing. Absolutely.
Yeah. And with volume, sure. So he's going to get a chance early. That'll be interesting to watch. Kendre Miller is missing practice with a hamstring injury. That means Jamal Williams is setting up to be the bell cow back. The Saints have the Titans, which is not quite as bad as that's been in years past. So
Jamal Williams about to feast.
So Jamal Williams is about to feast. That definitely is a plug and play start. Again, we talked about guys that you could look for over like Breece Hall or Javonte Williams who are coming back from injury, or over any of the Dolphins backs that maybe you're not sure how that's going to split up. Jamal Williams is a really good answer to that, or even any of the Colts backs. Jamal Williams is a really good answer to that right now. We love Kendre Miller's talent, but the fact is he's on his third soft tissue issue since OTAs.
Yep.
So they got to get that right. And until they do, and it's going to be Jamal Williams, and we know he can do it. We saw what he did last year, so. John Mechie missing practice with a hamstring injury. He was one of my favorites to get some early volume. He's also been hurt a lot and is going to have to, outdo Nico Collins and Robert Woods and some of these veterans trying to keep their career alive in Houston. And They get the Ravens, which I feel like the Ravens are a team where you can say on paper the defense probably isn't going to be good, and for whatever reason, a lot of people seem to think that, but they always seem to be good defensively. So,
This is a rookie quarterback making his first career start
yep.
on a team that has new talent, positional players, new coaching all across the board.
Now,
I would be outside of like Damian Pierce, which could see a lot of early action in this game. This is
yeah,
played nothing from Houston. I'm fine. I'm fine. Maybe Dalton Schultz. We know that young quarterbacks like to lean on tight ends. Schultz was the big free agent they brought in. That's literally yeah.
I will say,
Houston's rough.
yep, they are. I will say for that game for Houston and the Ravens, little bit of a trap if you're looking at Ravens and starting them against the Texans, thinking that that's going to be a cakewalk matchup. The thing I think that is going to happen, defensive-minded head coach, solid defensive pieces. You could see a lot of what we've seen from some other teams where the defense just plays better than the sum of its parts.
Yeah,
because of the coaching scheme and everything. The Texans are a team I look at it potentially being a tougher matchup than people think defensively. They're still going to lose a lot of games because of the talent on offense, but it isn't going to be. But I have a hunch it's not going to be because of the defense. They're not going to be the cakewalk. Same goes for the Bucs, right? They've got a talented defense as well, even though the offense, well, really the quarterback position is lacking.
I mean,
So
they have to be like historically Broncos good.
Yeah.
Most of these strong defenses at some point will break if the offense just can't give them enough of a leeway. This because I think this is a good matchup for Baltimore to truly test out to see what this new offense is supposed to look like. Right?
I think
you bring in Todd Monken, you bring in Odell, you draft Zay Flowers.
Well, Odell's suddenly limited at practice with an ankle injury, but
it's shocking.
No, I think you're right that it is a good measuring stick to see how they want to run the offense. I just think that don't be surprised if it doesn't all come together and the Texans look better on defense than they should. I think you're going to be able to glean some things from it. I think you're going to be able to pull some takeaways out of it. Just don't think like, oh man, I'm going full blower and Ravens in this one is what I'm going with. It's a new offense that could take some time to mesh, some time to get used to against a defensive-minded head coach on a team with some good defensive pieces because they've spent draft capital there the last couple of years. Just caution.
Yep.
A-Chain's good to go. So that's, pretty neutral matchup against the Chargers. That's another running back core we're going to be watching utilization in closely. So I don't recommend running out and starting A-Chain, but we're going to be paying close attention to what's going on there. It's good.
I expect him to lean on Mostert this week.
Yeah, and I'm happy he's healthy because if we can see how he's going to be utilized, we can start to draw some inferences from that as well.
Yep.
And then JSN's good to go for week 1 against the Rams, which is a juicy matchup.
I'm shocked by this. Like it sounded like he was potential pub player.
It might miss the first 3 to 4 weeks.
I'm still not playing him. I love him, great talent, and I think he's the future receiver in Seattle.
Starting off playing rookies early is
if he was fully healthy, different story. Like he can do a lot of things well. They're not gonna lean on him. Like I don't see a scenario in which, all right, man, we gotta lean on JSN. Like he's not gonna be in on 2 receiver sets. He may not be in a lot of 3 receiver sets. This is the way and see how many snaps he plays, how many routes he runs. Like I'm okay taking a burn from him this week. And we know the cost of him wasn't that high in your redraft leagues anyways.
Indeed.
Beer review.
All right, I'll go first and rapid fire this. Cooper and Thief, barrel finish red blend. No details on what the red blend is. Very jammy. There's a lot of dark fruit to it. Like, there's some blackberry there, some fig there. It's a grape, but that's kind of obvious. It's made out of grapes. But, it's got some jammy notes and some good dark fruit notes to it. It's supported by a good tannic balance. I do definitely think the bourbon barrel comes out in this one. There's a lot of bourbon barrel finished wines. This is one of my favorites. And I knew that before hopping on the show. But there's a good amount of like vanilla and caramel that pop out of there, but you also get the barrel character on it. You can taste some of that barrel char, which adds to the tannic balance that really sits nicely with those jammy notes that come through with this. The finish is, I would consider it to be more dry than semi-dry. Not a ton of minerality going on here. Overall, it pairs very, very well with yellow cake with chocolate frosting. Ask me how I know. Very, very good with desserts. Probably with red meat too. But yeah. Overall, really, really good. One of my favorite barrel finished wines. I'm not nearly as versed on wine as I am beer and bourbon, but it's very, very, it's very pleasant. But it's very bold though, flavor wise.
I like it. Again, I am drinking. This is from Earthbound. They're out of St. Louis. I'm drinking the Earthbound Blonde. This is a blonde ale with cardamom, black pepper, and tea. 4.5% too on this. This is unique, right? You get a lot of the black pepper spice. Really, really dry finish. Very, very floral. The tea kind of helps it kind of breathe a little bit more, make it a little bit lighter. Not a heavy body with all that intake. There's a lot of flavors going on with this, and if you'd like, beers with this profile, I recommend them. I'm gonna probably pick something up from them as well on my way out of town Saturday. And give more of their beers a try, because this one's quite pleasant. Plus you can't see it because camera sucks and shit, but they have a dog wearing red and blue glasses, wearing a polo shirt, and it just looks fucking dope. So shout out to Earthbound and putting the good boys on the can. The good old boys, the good old doggies on the can.
The best boys.
The best boys.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Earthbound, who had no idea you were on the show. Thank you, Cooper and Thief, who doesn't care they're on the show because they're a big time California thing. So yeah. Maybe I'll make a goal to get one more beer sponsor before we're done.
That'd be hilarious. I know we're ending within a year, but you want to come on and sponsor? I get like 20 listeners.
I don't need anything. Just give me a 4-pack. We got more than 20 listeners.
Well, good.
50. But
50.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. So normally we do a recap. With this being week 1, we're not doing a recap. I kind of mentioned how we were going to do the previews, but just so you guys know, when we do recaps this year, we're each going to kind of pick one thing that we want to highlight from the previous week. That could be a team, a performance, a trend, a stat, something we noticed, etc., etc. And then we'll pick one waiver wire or watch list guy that we're paying attention to a piece and roll on from there. We tend to shy away from deep waiver wire segments or deep recaps because there's a lot of people that do that good, but we'll let you know what we're watching and what we're seeing at least. So that's how the recap's going to go. We're not going to go game by game on that either, in the interest of not having 2.5 to 3 hour episodes. All right. That being said, since there's no recaps this week,
Weekly preview.
one of my favorite drops.
That's a good drop. So good.
It is. All right, so preview. We'll each pick one thing to highlight for the week. Player matchup, game, avoids, etc., etc. Ryan's not here, so I went a little deeper on this. But the thing I want to highlight this week is basically remember your basics. So what it means by that's things like don't put Thursday night players in your flex. Pay attention to injuries and outs and things like that. Make sure you're working your waiver wire. That type of stuff. The other thing is that remember, no one knows anything until week 3 or 4, right? So you drafted your team with a certain thing in mind. You drafted starters to start. You drafted bench players to back up or because you believe in them. the first couple of weeks, run your team the way that you envisioned it when you drafted it. There are going to be some things that hurt that, injuries to Cup and Watson and potentially Judy and already Kelsey, things like that. But for the most part, to the extent you can, run your team the way that you drafted it the first couple of weeks. After 2 to 3 weeks, what we're going to see is we'll see trends. And then we'll be able to start basing analysis based on those trends. If you start out 0-3, that's not a big deal. You still have 12 weeks left. If you start out 1-2, that's not a big deal. But you're going to want to play the way you intended it as things shake out and as we figure out how some of these target shares are going to split up for teams that don't have established players like the Chiefs, or established receivers like the Chiefs, like the Raiders. You're going to want to see how these running back splits set up for things like the Dolphins, the Commanders. That's what we're paying attention to for the first couple weeks. We know nothing until week 3 or 4 to start making shifts and changes and things like that. We'll highlight performances, but we can see week 1 performances for guys that don't do anything the rest of the year. Which brings me to another point. Don't overreact to week 1. If somebody doesn't take off that you expected to, if somebody does very, very well, don't overreact to week 1. Your turn spots are your turn spots on the waiver wire. That's fine. Don't go dropping somebody like, we'll use Odell as a shot here, right? On a new offense who's dealing with an injury. If he doesn't have a great game, don't be like, I'm done with him. I'm going to go drop him. No, you got to have a little bit of patience in this. Can't have a lot, but you got to have a little bit. So my biggest thing for week 1 that I want to highlight right now is just remember your basics. Dan, anything in particular you want to highlight or that you picked out, and I'll talk about some juicy matchups and some traps?
No, I mean, I think he covered, the reminder to not, it's really to not overreact. It's to understand what you were taught throughout the off season, what you've been told, reading magazines, articles, listening to other podcasts, talking with your buddies that know a thing or two. It's you already know, what teams to watch, what backfields, what receiving course you should be highlighting and watching. Just you don't need to try to go out and win the waiver wire week 1. We see traps nearly every year, as you just mentioned. So yeah, just let week 1, be a thing. And after Monday, put in your waivers and go about your business. Don't overreact to the wide receiver 3 that blows up one random week. But watch the things to look out for. Watch the snap counts, the routes run. Those are the things you want to look for. Look to see who's getting an opportunity. And then start noting a trend after week 1. If they do it again in week 2, it's a different story. If they flame out and barely play, looking at you, Kyle Phillips, probably move on.
Yeah. Kyle Phillips. He's been hurt since week 1 of last year.
Dude, I don't think he's been healthy since.
I don't think he has. No, he hasn't been. I've got him in a couple places. He's just been taking up an IR spot. You'll have that.
Yep.
All right. And then one streamer for each of us. Oh, juicy matchup. Sorry. Jags have the Colts. It's juicy matchup for the Jaguars. Colts defense does not figure to be very good. Colts offense, we're waiting to see how that all shakes out. If you drafted Richardson, sure, there's going to be rushing floor there. Jags offense, don't think they're going to be fantastic. I'd expect at least wide receiver 3 days out of Kirk and Ridley. I don't know how that target share is going to shake out. I'm not worried about it. We know Ingram from last year. We know ETN from last year. That's a solid matchup. Panthers versus the Falcons is another one I'm looking at. We talked about it earlier. We talked about being in tune with Mingo. Broncos versus the Raiders. The Broncos play anywhere near their potential against a Raiders defense that is just average is probably being nice, then you're going to be absolutely fine there. And then the Seahawks versus the Rams, more so on the Seahawks side. Ram secondary is pretty beat up. So Dan mentioned being cautious with JSN, and I think they will be. I don't know how healthy the wrist is, but as far as Metcalf and Walker and Lockett and Gino and those guys, your normal characters from last year, that's also a plus matchup. Anything to add on juicy matchups as you look at the schedule, or anything you disagree with there?
Browns Bengals is definitely one. It's at Cleveland. Browns are going to want to come out and try to highlight why they should be taken seriously. Watson's first full off season, no suspension, nothing. I guess he had a full off season last year, but that is a matchup in terms of fantasy potential is massive. Vegas is always going to be cautious with their lines, especially their over unders week one, as they're also figuring out who these teams are. But Browns Bengals, there's a lot of streaming worthy potential outside of the big names that should not be afraid to be highlighted. So I absolutely love that game. That's probably it. Dolphins Chargers should also yield a lot of
I think both sides
fantasy
on
potential.
Dolphins Chargers is going to be pretty good.
Yeah, and Waddle's questionable. We'll see how.
I think he'll
We'll
play.
see how.
Yeah,
we'll see how significant that is. We're going to see what the new look Chargers look like with Kellen Moore calling plays. Are they going to be more tempo? Are they going to be more aggressive? How is Quentin Johnson going to be used in comparison with an aging Keenan Allen? And
it's a good neutral defensive
Mike
matchup.
Williams? Yeah,
it's a good neutral defensive matchup where the Chargers are going to have to push pace. So it'll be good to see how they want to run that offense in an ideal scenario.
And there's a very, very good chance that this is a very important game for both of these teams to win for playoff scenario, for wild card potential. So that's definitely one for the 3:00 games. That's pretty much, I think,
it.
Worthy highlights.
Yep. Trap games I'm looking at Vikings versus the Bucks, because even though people anticipate the Bucks are going to be bad, remember that's because the offense, not the defense. That's not saying that your normal Vikings aren't going to get what they get, but be a little weary over Madison or even starting Addison early on. Bucks defense is still solid, and we talked about Texans Ravens earlier. Those are the two that I think are going to kind of be traps, or you could have a misconception on. Same thing with Cardinals versus the Commanders. Commanders a lot like the Bucks. People anticipate some struggles on offense because of the quarterback situation, but defense is still decent.
Yep. There's no other trap really that's maybe Bears Packers, but you're not looking at a lot of fantasy relevant players.
Yeah.
Super fantasy relevant players in that game. So
yeah, and I mean, looking across the rest of the slate, Texans Ravens, we talked about that. Really, Niners Steelers should play pretty chalk. Titans Saints should be pretty. That has the potential to actually be pretty miserable. So
yeah, a lot of new faces.
Yep. Cowboys Giants is interdivision, so those are always tight.
Yep.
All right, streamers. I'll go first. My streamer of the week that I want to highlight anyway is Greg Dulcich. He went late and or undrafted in a lot of places. The Broncos found ways to use him last year. I don't think Sean Payton's going to be any different in finding ways to use him, and I think this is more of a, if you've lost Kelsey and you're looking for a solid matchup and a replacement tight end that might be floating around out there on your waivers, this is a good one to pick up. He's got a good matchup against Vegas. They weren't the worst against tight ends last year. They're about middle of the road. They gave up 7 double-digit weeks, though, last season. 9 or more PPR points for the last 6 weeks, and they didn't do a ton to solidify, the positions that would normally be covering the tight ends. Also, the Broncos are very void of wide receivers, and they'll be looking for help in the receiving game wherever they can get it.
Yeah, it's a great call, especially with the tight end injuries that we're seeing. I have 2 quick ones, one not deep and one kind of deep. Elijah Moore, I mentioned Browns Bengals is one of my favorite highlighted games to watch for. Elijah Moore got a lot of buzz in this offseason, a lot of praise in camp, lot to prove, former second round pick, a lot of buzz. Didn't work out with the Jets. Now he has a massive opportunity to shine in Cleveland alongside an aging and oft injured Amari Cooper in a game that's going to, I think, need him a lot, especially in the intermediate spots. And then a player that I never thought I'd actually ever tout. That's Greg Dortch. The Cardinals are going to have to still throw the football. This is not a game I want to get sexy with, but if you're in deeper leagues looking for replacements for whatever reason, Dortch is in a position to eat up targets with a young quarterback and Josh Jacobs, not a lot of starts on him, and they're going to have to throw the ball at some point. He's not going to be work deep. He's not playing the Marquise Brown role. Zach Ertz is hurt, and Trey McBride's in his second year. Dortch has had random games of 8 targets and 8 catches. Like, it's one of those calls where it looks so unsexy, but
Dortch,
you can walk away Sunday with he has 10 targets, 6 catches for 6 yards, maybe a touchdown, and he just completely saves your week.
That's what
off of a random
he
performance.
did it to me several times last year. So yeah,
It's not sexy. It's not meant to be. I'm in a 12-team league with only 15 spots. Like, no, you're not playing Greg Dortch there.
no,
but this is
leagues,
your super deep cut leagues. Yes, that is
Yeah.
my one deep cut I'm going to give. I think it's so important to highlight that for our long listeners to have a good grasp on what to do. But
no, I think so too. And Dortch is somebody who did save me some weeks last week, just because when people were hurt, he somehow produced it. 10 targets, 8 receptions, 80 yards, and a touchdown, and I saved her week. And that wasn't the case when Hopkins got back or when Brown was healthy, but when they weren't, which was parts of last year, it was Greg Dortch. So I love that call. I think that's a really good deep call. And, I hope to God in redraft week 1 that you're not in that position. But if you're in Dynasty, you very well could be in that position. So,
yeah, you're in that 16-team league that started there, that has, Cup and Judy, and maybe you got, some harder names to have to make decisions on. So,
yeah.
It's not too far-fetched. You shouldn't rely on it, but if you need to find something gross,
right?
Why not Greg Dortch?
No, absolutely. I totally agree. All right. Anything else on this week's slate of games?
Have fun betting. This is the best week to win in DFS. This is the best week to win on FanDuel, Sportsbook, and everything. This is the week. This is where the books, the Vegas books, your apps, this is how they draw you in. This is the week. This is where you're going to get the best odds. You're going to get the best spreads. You're going to get, the best kind of, fun parlays that they're going to highlight. This is where you're going to make your money. Just be prepared, though, that this is how they get you to stay in. But this is going to be a lot of fun. And this is our last season doing this stuff. So I'll look forward to kind of seeing how this goes.
All right. Well, on that note, thank you guys for tuning in. Oh, one other change. We're not doing Sunday live streams this year.
Yes.
I forgot to mention that. So the last, God, what year is this? This is year 6? Yeah, year 6. So the last 5 years, or 4 years, sorry, because we didn't do them the first year, I don't think. Or did we?
We didn't do it year 1, but we
did it.
Maybe, no, we did do them. We didn't. We've done them every year. We've always highlighted wanting to do Sunday live streams. That's where we get the most action. But
yeah, the way that it works this year with Dan having festivals and being on the road, me valuing my weekend time, and we're everybody else doing them. We're not doing them this year. I'd rather sit with my coffee and set my own lineups. If you want to reach out, Ryan and I will both be paying attention to social media. So at Beerfield on X. So reach out. We're happy to answer, but don't be surprised when the Sunday live streams are not there this year, because that's just with us wrapping up. That's just not time that we're gonna invest to make it a point to be sitting here at 10 a.m. on a Sunday versus I know you and your wife like to do brunch, and yeah.
Yeah.
So
Oh, absolutely.
Ryan has a kid that plays. I don't know how old he is, but
Football.
yeah, football. I was gonna say Pee Wee,
He's
but I don't know if he would
8,
probably
9,
be
10,
on
I
that.
think.
So
Yeah, I think 8, 9,
yeah,
10 sounds
he's
right.
got games every Sunday, so just it's a life thing. So we will not be here on Sundays, but we will still be here every Thursday. So make sure you tune in as we wrap this thing up. Thank you guys for being here, and we will catch you next week.
Peace.